The wire transfer screen glowed in the darkness of Chioma Okonkwo's home office. Her finger hovered over the confirm button. 35 million naira. For a house she'd never be welcomed in. For a family that saw her as an ATM with a wedding ring. She pressed it anyway. Here's the question that haunts me still: if your family only loves you for your money, do you owe them anything at all? Chioma wired that money for her mother-in-law's dream estate while Mama Adana called her that Igbo money woman behind her back. Her husband Chukwudi said nothing. So she made a choice that some call justice and others call revenge. Was she wrong? Stay with me, because what happened next changed everything. Chioma had built Ankara royal fashion from a small stall in Balagan market to a 2 billion naira fashion empire in 8 years. She'd done it alone, watching her widowed mother sell akara and pap every morning just to pay school fees. Every success felt like honoring her mother's sacrifice. Every achievement felt like proof she deserved to exist in spaces that once excluded her. When she married Chukwudi Namdi 5 years ago, she thought she'd finally found belonging. He worked for an NGO focused on youth empowerment, earned a modest salary, and seemed to love her for who she was, not what she'd built. But his mother, Mama Adana, had been ice-cold from day one. At their traditional wedding, Mama Adana refused to dance when Chioma's family sprayed money. At family gatherings, she'd speak only Yoruba despite knowing Chioma understood little, forcing Chukwudi to translate. For months before everything collapsed, Chukwudi came home to their Ikoyi apartment looking nervous. They were in the living room, the one Chioma had furnished with imported Italian leather and African art. He poured himself some Chapman before speaking. "My mother wants to talk to us about something," he said. Chioma looked up from her iPad where she was reviewing fabric orders. "About what?" "She's getting older. She wants to buy a house. Something befitting her status. Somewhere she can hold her head high. That's good. She deserves comfort." Chukwudi sat down across from her. "She needs help. Financial help." Chioma's stomach tightened. "How much help?" "There's this property in Banana Island. 5 bedrooms. Swimming pool. Generator house. Security quarters. It's everything she's ever dreamed of." "Chukwudi, how much?" 35 million naira. Chioma set down her iPad slowly. "Your mother has barely spoken to me in 5 years. Now she wants 35 million. She doesn't know how to ask. Pride, you know? But I think this could change everything between you two. If you did this for her, she'd finally see how much you care about our family." "Our family," Chioma repeated. "Does she consider me family?" Chukwudi reached for her hand. "This would prove it to her. That you're invested. That you're not just some businesswoman who married her son for status. I married you because I love you. How much more proof does she need? Please, my wife." This would mean everything to her. To us. To our future children. Imagine them visiting their grandmother in Banana Island. Chioma should have said no. Every instinct screamed it. But she'd spent 5 years trying to win Mama Adana's approval, 5 years being tolerated but never embraced. Maybe Chukwudi was right. Maybe this grand gesture would finally break through. "I'll think about it," she said. 2 days later, she met with her financial advisor, Tunde Adelik, in his Victoria Island office. Tunde had handled her finances since Ankara Royal's first major investment. He knew her better than most. "You're hesitating," Tunde said, watching her face. "My mother-in-law wants to buy a house. She needs help." "How much help?" "All of it. 35 million naira." Tunde set down his pen. "Chioma, talk to me about the relationship there." "It's complicated." "That's not an answer." Chioma looked out the window at the Lagos traffic crawling below. "She's never liked me. I'm not sure she ever will. But Chukwudi thinks this could change things. And the property would be in whose name?" "Hers." "With you as what?" "Co-owner?" "Guarantor." "I'll hold the mortgage." "Be the guarantor." Tunde was quiet for a long moment. "I can't tell you what to do with your money. But I can tell you this feels like throwing money into a well and hoping for blessings. Just process the transfer, Tunde. You're sure? No. But do it anyway. The money left her account on a Thursday. Mama Adana closed on the Banana Island property the following Monday. Chioma waited for a thank you call. It never came. What came instead was a text from Chukwudi, "Mama is so happy. You did a good thing." Not a word from Mama Adana herself. Over the next 3 months, Chioma funded everything. The mortgage payment. The furniture from South Africa. The landscaping. The security system. The generator installation. Every expense flowed through her accounts while Mama Adana decorated her dream home and Chukwudi played mediator. She wants to plan a housewarming party, Chukwudi told her one evening. That's nice. A big one. Really show Lagos society what the Namdi family is about. Make a statement. How big? Maybe 200 people. Full catering. Live band. DJ. Aso-ebi for the family. The whole thing. Chioma looked at him. And she wants me to pay for that too. It's her moment, Chioma. Let her shine. I've given her everything, Chukwudi. The house. The lifestyle. What has she given me? She won't even greet me properly when I visit. She's from the old generation. She shows love differently. She doesn't show me love at all. Chukwudi's jaw tightened. Why do you always make this so difficult? Can't you just be generous without keeping score? This is not how we do things in Yoruba culture. When you marry into a family, you become part of that family. That landed like a slap. Chioma had been generous her entire life. With her time, her money, her energy. She'd paid for Chukwudi's younger brother's university fees when he got expelled from his first school. She'd covered Mama Adana's hospital bills when she had gallstone surgery. She'd done everything but bleed for this family, and still, she was the one being accused of keeping score. Fine, she said. I'll cover the party. Chioma's business partner, Amora Ease, cornered her at the office 2 weeks before the event. They were in the design studio in Lekki, reviewing new Ankara prints, when Amora closed the door. We need to talk about what's happening, Amora said. I'm fine. You're not fine. You've spent over 40 million naira on people who treat you like a house girl. Your mother-in-law hasn't invited you to a single planning meeting for this party. You're funding everything and being excluded from everything. Chukwudi's handling it. Chukwudi is using you. They both are. Chioma's hand stilled on the fabric samples. You don't know them like I do. I know what I see. And what I see is you making yourself smaller and smaller, hoping that if you just give enough, prove enough, earn enough, they'll finally accept you. But Chioma, some people don't want to accept you. They want to use you. Thank you for your concern, Chioma said coldly. But I'm handling my marriage. Amora shook her head. I hope so. Because from where I'm standing, your marriage is destroying you. If you're still watching, hit that subscribe button. This story gets intense, and you'll want to see how it ends. Drop a comment and tell me what you'd do in Chioma's position. Would you keep giving, or would you walk away? The night before the housewarming party, Chioma drove to the Banana Island estate with last-minute decorations. The security guard at the gate didn't recognize her and refused to let her in until she called Chukwudi. Already a bad sign. She found him in the kitchen with Mama Adana, both of them laughing over palm wine and party planning documents spread across the granite counter. They didn't hear her approach. They were speaking Yoruba, but Chioma had learned enough over the years to understand. Tomorrow, everything will be in place, Mama Adana said, her voice warm in a way Chioma had never heard directed at her. The house is mine, the party will be perfect, and we can finally move forward with our plans. Chukwudi's voice was quieter. Are you sure about this, Mama? She's going to be very upset. She'll survive. These Igbo business women always land on their feet. Besides, once it's done, what can she really do? The house is in my name. The party is for real family only. She can either accept her place or go back to her people. I just feel somehow, you know? She's been so generous. Mama Adana laughed, actually laughed. Generous? My son, she's buying her way in. That's what her people do. They think money makes them belong anywhere. But belonging is something you're born into, not something you purchase with dirty trade money. Still, Mama. She's my wife. Is she? Or is she just the woman who pays your bills? When's the last time you chose her over me? When's the last time you defended her when I said something? You've already chosen, Chukwudi. Tomorrow just makes it official. After the party, we'll discuss the next properties we can acquire. The glasses clinked. Chioma stood frozen in the hallway, a box of decorations in her arms, listening to her husband and mother-in-law celebrate her exclusion. Her hands began to shake, but she forced herself to stay quiet, to back away slowly, to make it to her car before the tears came. She sat in the driver's seat of her Range Rover for 20 minutes, hands gripping the steering wheel, breathing through the panic and rage and humiliation. Every moment of the last 5 years replayed in her mind. Every dismissal. Every tribal joke. Every time Chukwudi had chosen his mother's comfort over her dignity. Every time she'd told herself it would get better, that love was patient, that family was worth fighting for. She'd been fighting alone. Chioma drove home and didn't sleep. She sat in her home office, staring at bank statements and property documents and mortgage payments. She'd built an empire by trusting her instincts, by making hard decisions, by refusing to let anyone make her small. But in her marriage, she'd ignored every instinct, avoided every hard decision, and made herself smaller every single day. At 3 in the morning, she opened her laptop and started making calls. First to London, then to South Africa, then to trusted contacts across Lagos. By dawn, she had a plan. The morning of the housewarming party, Chioma woke with absolute clarity. She showered, plaited her hair in the intricate style her late mother used to do, put on makeup with the precision of someone preparing for battle. She chose a beautiful outfit, the custom-made blue and gold ankara that made her look like royalty. She looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. When had she become someone who accepted crumbs and called it love? Her phone buzzed at 2:47 in the afternoon. Chukwudi. She picked it up, already knowing what it would say. Mama says it's best if you don't come today. Too many family politics. We'll talk when I get home tonight. Chioma read the message 3 times. Then she read it again. The audacity of it. The sheer, breathtaking audacity. She'd funded every single aspect of this day, and now she was being uninvited via text message like an unwanted stranger. Not even a phone call. Not even the courage of a conversation. She called Chukwudi. It went to voicemail. She called again. He declined it. Chioma set the phone down and laughed. It was either laugh or scream, and she'd spent 5 years being quiet enough, small enough, accommodating enough. She was done shrinking. She picked up her phone and dialed Tunde Adelik. Chioma? Is everything all right? Tunde, I need you to freeze all payments related to Plot 47B Banana Island. Effective immediately. There was a pause. That's your mother-in-law's property. The housewarming is today. I know exactly what day it is. Chioma, this will have immediate legal implications. The mortgage payment is due. The catering deposit. The event planners. Everything stops. I understand perfectly. Are you absolutely certain? I've never been more certain of anything in my life. Another pause. Tunde had worked with her long enough to know when she meant business. All right. I'll initiate the freeze. What about the property title dispute we discussed last week? File it. Today. Right now. Coercion, undue influence, fraudulent misrepresentation. I want that house in legal limbo before the first guest arrives. It's going to cause serious wahalla, Chioma. The wahalla already exists. I'm just making it visible. She hung up and immediately called her lawyer, Barrister Ngozi Okeke. Ngozi had handled her business contracts for years and knew Chioma didn't make impulsive decisions. I need divorce papers drawn up, Chioma said without preamble. Hey! Chioma, what happened? Are you sure? Completely. I want them ready by tonight. I also need to discuss removing my husband from his position at Ankara Royal. He's an employee, and I need to ensure this is done properly. We can handle that. But Chioma, are you safe? Do you need anything? I'm safe. I just need to stop being foolish. One more call. Colonel Adeyemi, the property developer who built the Banana Island estate. Chioma had worked with him during the property search, and he'd always been professional. Oga Colonel, this is Chioma Okonkwo. We need to discuss plot 47B urgently. Madam Chioma, how can I help you? I'm the primary financier of that property. There's a party scheduled to start there in approximately 90 minutes. I'm filing a legal dispute claiming coercion and fraud in the property transfer. I need someone from your office present to inform the guests that the property is under legal dispute and all events must be cancelled immediately. Colonel was quiet for a moment. Madam, this is a very serious matter. I have all documentation. My financial advisor is filing the dispute as we speak. I'm not asking you to take sides. I'm protecting your company's interests by ensuring no major event occurs on a property with contested ownership. Let me call my lawyer and confirm. But if what you're saying is true, we'll send someone. That party starts at 4 o'clock. If you're going to act, do it now. She hung up and looked around her beautiful Ikoyi apartment. Chukwudi's things were everywhere. His agbada hanging by the door. His slippers. His certificates on the wall. His whole life subsidized by her work, her money, her endless accommodation. Not anymore. Chioma started packing his belongings. Every shirt, every book, every award from his NGO days. She packed with methodical efficiency, the same focus she brought to closing business deals. By 3:30, everything Chukwudi owned was in Ghana must-go bags on the balcony. She included an envelope with the divorce papers and his termination letter from Ankara Royal. Then she made arrangements for his car. The company car. The Toyota Camry registered to her business that she'd let him drive like it was his own. It would be gone by the time he got home. At exactly 4:17, Chioma's phone rang. Chukwudi. She declined it. He called again. And again. She turned off her phone, poured herself a glass of wine, and sat on her balcony overlooking the Lagos skyline. Whatever was happening at that party, she didn't need to see it. She could imagine it just fine. At the Banana Island estate, the party was in full swing. White canopies covered the compound. A live band played high-life music near the pool. Small chops circulated on trays. Guests in matching asoebi filled the grounds, dancing and spraying naira notes. Mama Adana held court in expensive lace and jewel that cost more than most people earned in 6 months, showing off each room of her house to clusters of impressed guests. This is the family room, she announced in Yoruba, leading people through sliding glass doors. Soon, my grandchildren will play here. Real Yoruba children who know their culture. Chukwudi stood near the drinks table, checking his phone obsessively. Chioma wasn't responding. Something felt wrong, but he couldn't pinpoint what. His mother kept catching his eye and smiling, triumphant and vindicated. This was her moment. Her proof that she'd raised a son who knew where his loyalties belonged. Where's your wife? Someone asked Chukwudi, a cousin from Ibadan. She had business to handle. You know how these business women are. But she's the one with the money, NA. All this fine house. Must be nice to marry rich. The comment had mockery in it. Chukwudi pretended not to notice. Across the compound, Mama Adana was telling a group of women about her plans. I'm starting a weekly prayer meeting here. Only serious God-fearing women. Not those ones who wear trousers and think they're men because they have small money. One of the women glanced at her friend. Everyone knew Mama Adana hadn't paid for this house. Everyone knew who had. The whispers were already spreading like wildfire. At 4:23, a black Lexus SUV pulled through the gate. Colonel Adeyemi stepped out with his company lawyer and site manager, all of them in business attire. They walked purposefully toward the main gathering area where Mama Adana was about to cut the cake. Kunal scanned the crowd and located Mama Adana. He walked directly to her, interrupting her speech about God's blessings on the righteous. "Madam, I'm Kunal Adeyemi from Adeyemi Properties. I need to speak with you immediately." Mama Adana turned, irritated at the interruption. "Can't you see I'm celebrating? Whatever you want can wait until next week." "I'm afraid it cannot." Kunal's voice was firm but respectful. "This property is currently under legal dispute. All financial transactions related to it have been frozen pending investigation of fraud and coercion allegations filed by the primary financier." The music died. The DJ stopped mid-song. Guests turned to stare. "What nonsense are you talking?" Mama Adana's voice went high. "This is my house. I have papers. This house belongs to me. The ownership is being contested in court. Until this matter is resolved, no celebrations or events can be held here. I'm going to have to ask all guests to leave the premises immediately." Chukwudi pushed through the crowd of guests in matching asoebi. "There must be some mistake. My wife arranged this purchase. She would have told us if there was a problem." Kunal turned to him calmly. "Your wife is the one who filed the legal dispute, sir. About 3 hours ago. With full documentation." The words exploded like a bomb. Chukwudi's phone started ringing in his pocket. He pulled it out with shaking hands. "Chioma." He answered, moving away from the shocked crowd. "Chioma, what is this madness? What have you done?" Her voice was calm, dangerously calm. "I stopped paying for my own disrespect. You chose your mother over me. Every single day for 5 years, you chose her. So now you can have exactly what you wanted. A life with her. Without me funding it. Chioma, please, let's sit down and talk about this like adults. There's nothing to discuss. Your belongings are packed. Your divorce papers are with them. You're terminated from Ankara Royal effective immediately. Your company car is being collected. Don't come to the apartment. I've changed all the locks. You cannot do this to me. I'm your husband. You were my husband. Now you're just another person who underestimated me. Goodbye, Chukwudi." The line went dead. Chukwudi stood there, phone in hand, while behind him the party dissolved into chaos. Guests were rushing to their cars, some recording on their phones. Mama Adana had collapsed into a chair, fanning herself and crying out, while her friends clustered around with concerned faces and eager eyes, already composing the gossip they'd spread across Lagos before sunset. Kunal and his team were politely but firmly clearing the property. The caterers were packing up, confused about payment. The band had stopped playing. In 30 minutes, Mama Adana's triumph had become Lagos society's biggest scandal of the year. Chukwudi drove to the Ikoyi apartment in a daze of disbelief and growing panic. Sure enough, Ghana Musco bags lined the balcony. His clothes. His shoes. His entire life packed up like refuse on collection day. The envelope on top contained divorce papers and a letter from Ankara Royal's HR department. As he stood there reading his termination notice, a truck arrived to collect the Camry he'd driven for 3 years, the car he'd introduced to his friends as my car. He called Chioma 37 times that night. Every call went to voicemail. He tried to access their joint accounts and found himself locked out. He tried his key in the apartment door and found new locks installed. By midnight, he was back at his mother's old flat in Suryalia, the small 2-bedroom place she'd kept all these years, that she'd refused to sell even after moving to Banana Island. It was the only place they had left. Mama Adana sat on her old couch in her expensive lace and gel, mascara streaking her face. "This is your fault," she said in Yoruba. "You should have controlled your wife better. You should have put her in her place." "Controlled her?" "Mama, she paid for everything. Everything. And we treated her like trash. You treated her like she wasn't even human. We treated her how she deserved. She was always too proud, always showing off her money, always acting like she was better than us. She showed off nothing. You demanded a mansion and she gave you one. You demanded a party and she paid for it. And when she asked for basic respect, basic kindness, we shut her out. I shut her out. Because you told me to. Because I was too weak to be a man and protect my wife. It was the first time Chukwudi had ever spoken to his mother like that. The first time he'd seen the situation clearly. And it was far too late. Mama Adana didn't speak to him for 3 days. Before we get to what happened next, make sure you like this video and drop a comment. Would you have done what Chioma did? Was it justice or revenge? Let me know below. The next weeks were brutal for Chukwudi and Mama Adana. Videos of Kunal's announcement spread across Nigerian Twitter and Instagram. Everyone had an opinion. Linda Ikeji blogged about it. Bella Nija picked it up. Most people sided with Chioma. Chukwudi couldn't find work. His NGO contacts ghosted him. His reputation was destroyed. He'd been painted as a gold digger who married for money and helped his mother exploit his wealthy wife. Mama Adana's health deteriorated from the stress and shame. She developed high blood pressure and couldn't sleep at night. The friends who'd worn matching asoebi to her party disappeared. They'd been friends with the mansion, not the woman. The prayer group never materialized. She and Chukwudi lived together in bitter, mutual resentment in the Srilia flat, blame bouncing between them like a ball. Chukwudi saw Chioma once, for months later, at an event in Eco Hotel. She was laughing with Amora, her business partner, wearing a stunning gold Ankara dress and looking radiant. She glowed with freedom. When she noticed him watching from across the ballroom, her expression didn't change. No anger, no sadness. Nothing. She looked through him like he was air and turned back to her conversation. That hurt worse than anything else. She'd erased him completely. He was nothing to her now. 1 year after the party, Chioma stood at a ribbon-cutting ceremony in Ajagun. She'd funded a skills acquisition center named after her late mother, a place that taught young women fashion design, beauty skills, and business management free of charge. The media covered it. Community leaders praised her generosity. She gave a speech about knowing your worth and refusing to accept less than you deserve. And there, in line for the free lunch program the center offered, were Chukwudi and Mama Adana. Their eyes met across the crowd. Mama Adana looked away immediately, shame written across her face that had aged 10 years in 12 months. Chukwudi held Chioma's gaze for a long moment. She saw the exhaustion there, the regret, the full weight of his choices. She felt nothing. No triumph, no bitterness. Just peace. Just the quiet satisfaction of a woman who'd finally chosen herself. She turned back to the ceremony and never looked back. Later, a journalist from Channels TV asked her what inspired the project. Chioma smiled. I learned that the most valuable thing you can give someone isn't money. It's showing them they have worth that exists completely independent of what they can do for you. I wish someone had shown me that sooner. Thank God I finally learned. People still ask Chioma if she regrets what she did that day. Here's what she says: she regrets waiting so long to do it. She regrets the years she spent making herself smaller, quieter, more acceptable to people who would never accept her. She regrets believing that love meant endless sacrifice with no reciprocation. She regrets allowing tribal prejudice to make her question her own value. But the decision itself? The frozen payments, the legal dispute, the public disgrace of people who disgraced her in private for years? She doesn't regret that at all. They say she destroyed Chukwudi and Mama Adana. But here's the truth, she didn't destroy them. She just stopped building them up at her own expense. And maybe that's the same thing to people who only valued what she could give them, people who confused her generosity with weakness, her patience with foolishness, her love with desperation. So was Chioma wrong? That's for you to decide. But she sleeps just fine at night in her Ikoyi apartment. She's expanded Ankara Royal to 3 more African countries. She's mentoring young women entrepreneurs. She's living freely, proudly, unapologetically. And sometimes, that's the only answer that matters. If this story resonated with you, subscribe for more African stories like this. Hit that like button and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because sometimes the cost of belonging is too high. And walking away isn't failure. It's freedom. It's choosing yourself. It's remembering that your worth was never up for negotiation in the first place.